Silver Surfer floats alone above Earth, staring into the black sea of space as a quiet thought escapes his lips. Not just into the air, but into the fabric of fate itself, as he whispers, "How much longer before my eyes may once again behold the wonders of the ever-changing cosmos? How much longer before my exile ends?" And though his voice is soft, the weight of that longing carries galaxies in it. He is still holding on to memories that feel like lifetimes ago, back when he wasn't the Silver Surfer or before Exile. Back when he was just Norrin Radd from Zen-La, a planet that could be mistaken for a utopia, a place with no war, no pain, no struggle, where sickness is forgotten and peace has become permanent. Everything is perfect. So perfect it has begun to rot, because while his people are gliding along polished roads and smiling through artificial joy, Norrin is noticing something deeper, something darker, quietly blooming beneath the surface. A stillness that isn't peace but decay. He is watching their bodies grow weaker from lack of movement, their minds turning lazy because machines feed them knowledge instantly, and worst of all, their hearts are turning to stone, slowly losing that ancient fire to chase stars or wonder why anything even matters. And as he looks at them, he realizes they are not living in paradise, they are dissolving in it, and that thought never leaves him. So Norrin Radd is sitting there, quiet but full of unrest. And even in the middle of what others call a perfect world, his mind is spinning, and he's starting to ask himself if this really is what life is supposed to be. Because comfort means nothing to him if there's no purpose behind it, and what he truly craves isn't more peace, but something raw, something real, even if it means chaos and fear, as long as it has meaning. That hunger is dangerous because it makes him different, and different means questioning everything, and that spark inside him is what sets off everything that comes next. One day, restless and aching for answers, Norrin walks into a museum, not to stand in awe of dusty relics, but to feel something real. To reconnect with a time when Zen-La was wild and untamed, and he steps into a machine that lets his mind travel back through his people's ancient history. Back when survival still meant something and the future wasn't handed out on silver trays, he comes back, but the ache doesn't leave. And the moment Shalla-Bal sees it in his eyes, she gently presses him. And though Norrin tries to wave it off like it's nothing, she knows better. "You hunger for something I can't give," she says softly. "You crave something that only lies beyond the stars." She reminds him that everything anyone could ever want is right here, but Norrin's voice cuts through her calm. "No," he says, "what comes easily isn't worth taking. Our paradise is empty." He's done with a world that doesn't struggle, doesn't earn, doesn't grow. And then, everything changes. The sky screams with a sound no one has heard in 1,000 years as the planetary alarm erupts, and the people freeze as a broadcast crackles across Zen-La. A massive spacecraft has entered our galaxy, ignoring all nuclear defenses like they were nothing. Prepare for invasion. Panic follows, and Shalla-Bal clutches his arm. What can we do? But he already knows the truth. They gave up their strength long ago, and now they're defenseless. Even so, the Council makes a desperate call, authorizing the Weapon Supreme, powerful enough to destroy even themselves. But it's their only shot. With a single press of a button, everything begins falling apart, and destruction sweeps across the galaxy like a tidal wave. It rips planets from their orbits, turning entire star systems into swirling chaos. And though Zen-La survives, thanks to the ancient force fields buried deep beneath its surface, it doesn't come through untouched. The damage is everywhere. The cities are in ruins, their skies are scorched, and the perfect illusion they've lived under for centuries is suddenly gone, shattered into 1,000 pieces. Through one of the few surviving telescopes, a group of scientists and elders managed to catch a glimpse of what caused the devastation, and it's still there, moving, very much alive. This means whatever weapon they used didn't even make a dent, and that realization sends a cold chill through every soul on the planet. One of the elders, staring at the image, whispers shakily, "What kind of being is this?" Another voice, quiet but trembling, follows. "What power does it take? To crush galaxies like dust?" Norrin is standing nearby, watching, thinking, and as the panic spreads and the leaders declare that Zen-La cannot defend itself, he steps forward without hesitation. Because to him, there's no point in waiting around to be destroyed. not when there's still something that can be done, even if it means going alone. If we agree there's no hope, he says, his voice steady, then we have nothing left to lose. He tells them that someone must confront the invader, face whatever it is directly, and that someone, without a doubt, will be him. He urges them to build a spacecraft, one that can carry him out into the deep unknown, because for Norrin, this is more than just about saving his world. This is his chance to find the purpose he's been aching for. And once the ship is ready, he climbs in and launches into space, flying straight into darkness. But as he draws close to the incoming force, something massive and invisible pulls him in, slamming into him like a wave of power he's never imagined, and all he can do is scream. Then he sees it. Galactus. The towering being looks down at him and thunders, "Rise, puny creature, and face the monumental majesty of Galactus." Galactus already knows why Norrin has come, but he doesn't care, because to him, the mission is foolish, and he makes that clear. You cannot save your world from being ravaged by Galactus. He explains that he doesn't seek riches or treasures, only energy, the pure, raw, planetary energy that keeps him alive. And Zen-La is exactly what he needs to survive. Upon hearing this, Norrin stares in horror and shouts, "You dare not slay an entire race. There must be another way." Galactus is speaking now, his voice not rising in anger, but carrying the kind of calm that feels colder than rage. And with no emotion in his tone, he explains his reasoning. He says that he doesn't want to hurt anyone, but if his own survival means stepping on something small, like a man crushing an anthill just to stay alive, then it must be done. And with unnerving simplicity, he asks, "Would you hesitate if your own life depended on it?" But Norrin doesn't back down, not yet. And with all the desperation he has left in him, he pushes back, saying, "There are other planets, worlds without intelligent life. Find one of them instead. Even ants have a right to life." For a second, something in the air shifts, because Galactus actually stops and thinks. He admits it could be possible, says that if he had someone to go ahead of him, someone who could search the stars and find empty planets, then maybe worlds with life could be spared. But the problem is, he has no such servant, no one to do that job, and because of that, the energy of Zen-La is already as good as drained. That's when Norrin does something that no one sees coming, not his people, not Galactus, and maybe not even himself. Driven by a mix of fear, hope, and a deep sense of purpose, he steps forward pleading, "You mustn't. You can't. Please hear me out." And then he offers himself right then and there, not just as a sacrifice, but as a solution. If Galactus needs a herald, then Norrin says he'll be that herald. That he'll fly through galaxies and search the endless universe for lifeless worlds that can feed Galactus, if only he agrees to leave Zen-La alone. And for a long second, everything goes quiet. Then Galactus speaks again, this time slower and heavier, saying, "Norrin Radd, consider well what you offer. He who becomes my herald will be so forevermore." But Norrin doesn't flinch, and with steady eyes and a calm voice, he answers, "If that is my destiny, then I accept it willingly. My fate doesn't matter, only my world does. Spare Zen-La, and I am yours to command." Galactus nods, says, "Your words are spoken." The die is cast, and in a flash of overwhelming power, Norrin Radd is lifted off the ground. His body caught in a storm of cosmic energy as he begins to change. His skin turns silver, smooth and shining, forged into a near-immortal armor by Galactus himself, a form that can withstand stars, cold space, and anything in between. And the man that was Norrin Radd fades away, replaced by something else. Galactus gives him a board too, sleek and indestructible. A part of him now, one that moves only with his mind. No buttons, no steering, just raw will. When it's done, Galactus commands, "Go. Explore the endless universe. Seek the worlds that will feed me. From this moment forth, you are my herald. From this moment forth, you are the Silver Surfer." But this great power comes at a cost. The Silver Surfer, now drifting through the stars, stares into the endless stretch of the cosmos. And even though the galaxies spin and glow all around him, there's a quiet sadness in the way he holds himself. A heaviness that clings to his thoughts as he believes, deep down, that this is what he was meant for. an eternal path of duty, sacrifice, and wandering, with no end and no turning back. For him, only countless worlds stretched out ahead like candles flickering in the dark. He tells himself there's no room left for regret, that his vow is something he'll honor as long as he exists, because it's the only thing that gives his new life shape. But even that belief begins to tremble the moment he turns back toward Zen-La and finds Shalabal waiting for him, standing still, her eyes wide with disbelief and her heart already breaking. The second she sees him, she freezes, fear washing over her, because the glowing figure before her doesn't look like the Norrin Radd she once knew. And even though his voice is calm and gentle as he tells her, "I am still Norrin Radd, or what remains of him," it only deepens the ache in her chest. She asks what's happened to him, her voice trembling, and he tells her that his fate doesn't matter anymore, that all that matters is her safety, and the safety of their world. When she touches his face, her fingers feel the distance that has already begun to form between them, and he confirms what she fears most, that they'll never be together again. Not as long as he remains the herald of Galactus, because saving Zen-La came with a price, and that price is everything he loves. She begs him to let her join him, her voice breaking because she can't imagine living without him. But he turns away, unable to meet her eyes, and says quietly that it can never be, because wherever the Silver Surfer goes, he must go alone. And so, with the pain buried deep, he streaks through the stars, a silver flame across the galaxy, leading Galactus from one planet to the next, finding worlds rich with life for the Devourer to consume. At first, he forces himself to believe that it's all necessary, that one world must die so others can live, that Galactus cannot be stopped, and better it be him, full of mercy, than someone cruel. But when he reaches Earth, something begins to change. To him, it's just another blue world, and so he summons Galactus without a second thought until he sees its people fighting not just to survive, but to protect one another, standing firm even in the face of a god, not with weapons, but with spirit and heart. The Fantastic Four rise to stop Galactus, but they cannot match his power. Then Alicia Masters, a blind woman, upon being left to tend to the surfer, shows him something no one else has, what it means to feel, to see beauty, kindness, and dignity in others, even without sight. That moment awakens something inside him, and for the first time he chooses not to doom a world, but to save it. He stands firm now, right between Galactus and the Earth, and even though the threat feels enormous, he is not alone, because the Fantastic Four are stepping in beside him. Together with the help of a Watcher, they find something that changes everything, the ultimate nullifier, a mysterious and terrifying artifact that forces even Galactus, the devourer of worlds, to retreat and spare the planet. But that kind of betrayal does not come without consequences. And Galactus is not letting it go, so instead of ending the surfer's life, which would have been merciful, he punishes him in a way that is far worse. He locks him onto Earth, trapping him behind an invisible barrier made of cosmic energy that he cannot pass through, no matter how high he flies or how far he tries to reach. He can soar across the skies, glide above clouds, and gaze into space with longing in his eyes, but the stars that once welcomed him are now unreachable, and so begins his exile. A sentinel grounded on the very world he chose to protect. Now he is wandering across Earth, walking among humans who never asked for him and barely understand him, feared and often hated, even though he holds a power so immense it could change the very course of history. He is a being shaped by galaxies, now bound to a single planet, and worse still, he is torn from his beloved, forever separated by this curse of solitude and silence. And despite every good deed, every life he saves, the people around him still look at him with suspicion and fear, only seeing a silver figure they cannot relate to. Then suddenly, the quiet ends. Something pulses from orbit and a strange alien vessel appears, its surface gleaming like obsidian, slipping past Earth's defenses like a ghost. The aura coming from it is cold and violent, because inside is the Badoon Brotherhood, a ruthless reptilian empire bent on conquest, pretending to come in peace while hiding their true plans. but someone sees through their lies, a single woman who dares to speak the truth, and when she does, they attack without mercy. Just as the blasts begin, the sky lights up, and the Silver Surfer descends like a comet, sweeping her into his arms with cosmic energy wrapped around them like a shield, pulling her away from danger. And then war begins. Above Manhattan, the Silver Surfer dances through the sky, slicing through enemy fighters like a blade made of light, spinning with the speed and elegance of a storm touched by the sun. He is channeling the power cosmic now, melting their ships with a wave of his hand, lighting up the stratosphere with explosions that bloom like glowing fire flowers. But the Badoon are not just warriors, because they have been saving their worst creation for last. A monster bred in darkness, unseen and merciless, slipping into the city like a whisper of doom. No one sees it coming, but its trail is obvious: shattered glass, crushed buildings, sirens rising like screams, and a silence that follows wherever it goes. Even the Silver Surfer's vision can't trace it until he shifts tactics. He casts his senses far beyond the visible light, tuning into the quiet hum of energy, the shifts in motion, and the inevitable pull of entropy, letting the universe speak through silence and vibration. He hovers quietly in place, waiting. Then, without warning, he unleashes a blinding blast that floods the darkness with brilliance, revealing the outline of a monstrous creature, its massive body traced like a shadow burned into space. The beast lets out a deafening roar, and just like that, a violent battle begins, tearing across crumbling rooftops and shattered ruins, as if the city itself is shaking from their fury. The Silver Surfer is thrown into the sides of buildings, slammed through steel girders, each impact echoing with cosmic weight, but he rises every time, driven by a will deeper than pain and a sorrow too old to speak. He finally traps the creature inside a vortex made of compressed light, a storm of energy swirling so fast it bends reality. And then, with a final, devastating burst, he obliterates the beast completely, leaving nothing behind but its scream fading across the skyline. But even though he has saved them, the Silver Surfer is condemned once again by the humans. The Badoon twists the truth and spread lies that it is the Silver Surfer who has caused all the destruction. Humans, confused and terrified by what they cannot understand, turn against him, calling him the invader instead of the protector. Tired and heartbroken, the Silver Surfer does not back down this time. He summons the abandoned weapons of Earth, gathering the stolen warheads one by one and directing them with precision toward the Badoon mothership. This tears away its cloak and unleashes a blinding wave of fire that leaves no room for doubt or escape. The alien fleet, shocked and terrified by his power, retreat, vanishing from the solar system. But even after saving them, Earth is not thanking him. They only see the destruction, the strange, glowing figure who disobeyed their rules and defied the sky. With the military now involved, they begin plotting to bring him down. At the edge of his exile, he rises into the sky, fists clenched, face filled with pain and rage too deep for words. He crashes into the invisible barrier again and again, trying to break free, to return to the stars, to return to Shalabal. But the wall is not breaking, it never does. So he falls not to death, but to grief, crashing to the ground like a god abandoned by the heavens, unaware that his greatest trial is just beginning. Because in the shadows of the cosmos, Mephisto is rising. He is the lord of the Nether Realm, Marvel's twisted version of hell. And as he stirs in his dimension of fire and torment, he feels something rare, something radiant. He senses a soul that refuses to break, a light so pure it cuts through even the deepest dark, and that soul belongs to the Silver Surfer. And Mephisto wants it. From his burning throne, he watches the Surfer continue to defend a world that fears him, curses him, rejects him, and still he protects them, not with pride, but with compassion. And that selfless strength drives Mephisto mad with envy. So he hatches a plan. Shalabal, the woman the Silver Surfer loves more than anything in the universe, is suddenly torn from her peaceful life on Zen-La and dragged across the vastness of space into the twisted, fiery pit that is Mephisto's hellish domain, where time is warped, reality burns, and pain never ends. The Silver Surfer, flying through the cosmos like a silent comet, feels something wrong. Just a flicker in the sea of stars, but It is enough to pull him closer, and as he draws near, the rift swallows him whole, trapping him inside a realm of chaos, smoke, and sickening illusions that bend light and sound into madness. He lands not with impact, but with silence, and Mephisto, standing amidst the screams and flames, welcomes him with a wicked grin and offers him the one thing he desires most, his soul for Shalabal. No tricks, no traps, just surrender, and she's his again. But the Silver Surfer, filled with dignity and cosmic pride, refuses, because to him, love that comes with chains is not love at all. And even the thought of Shalabal isn't worth the price of becoming a puppet to evil. Mephisto laughs, then snarls, then rips the world apart with rage, unleashing shadows that hiss, demons that crawl, and monstrous illusions that wear Shalabal's face, whispering to him, pleading with him, calling out his name in broken echoes. Through it all, the Silver Surfer staggers, his mind splitting under the weight of heartbreak and the assault of false memories that twist Zen-La into a place of horror. But he refuses to kneel, and every time he hears her voice used against him, he strikes harder. He rises through the madness, glowing with raw, blinding cosmic energy, his board spinning through demonic structures, turning lies into dust as he breaks every illusion Mephisto throws at him with bursts of purifying light that come from the last pure place in his soul. Infuriated, Mephisto becomes a towering giant, his eyes burning like dying stars, and he drags the Silver Surfer into a pit filled with the damned, their screams clawing at him from all sides. But even there, the Silver Surfer shines like a new sun. He surges upward, unleashing everything he is, blasting through Mephisto's burning chest while crying out one name, Shalabal. And for one glorious second, he almost wins. But Mephisto cheats, as devils do, and with a single word, he casts Shalabal back to Zen-La, severing their bond and leaving the surfer broken again, alone in the dark. Wounded and exhausted, the Silver Surfer escapes and returns to Earth, his heart still heavy, his soul still burning. The battle won, but the war far from over. Yet something cunning and mischievous awaits him. High above the rainbow bridge of Asgard, the gods are feasting, but Loki, ever watching, ever scheming, sees the Silver Surfer as the perfect piece in his next plan to defeat Thor. With lies wrapped in honeyed words, Loki descends to Earth, claiming that Thor is a tyrant who conquers and enslaves, begging the Silver Surfer to stop him before more innocent worlds fall. Although the Silver Surfer does not trust him, his heart still aches for justice, and so he agrees. And so the cosmic warrior flies to Asgard. The Silver Surfer lands on the Bifrost Bridge, his cosmic presence humming through the golden light, and right there, waiting for him with Mjolnir in hand, stands Thor, looking strong but clearly confused, not yet knowing what's about to unfold. The moment the Silver Surfer arrives, accuses Thor of tyranny, his voice ringing with certainty and pain, but Thor, proud and caught off guard, demands proof and stands his ground, insulted by what sounds like betrayal. Tension rises fast, and before long, that tension erupts into fury. And just like that, one of the most glorious battles in Marvel history explodes into life as the Silver Surfer fires off beams of cosmic energy so powerful they are carving deep valleys into the stone of Asgard itself. Thor answers with bolts of thunder that split the sky in two, and every strike from his hammer shakes the heavens, like they are nothing but drums in the hands of gods. Midway through the chaos, the Silver Surfer lands a brilliant move, knocking Mjolnir clean out of Thor's grip with a streak of blinding power. But Thor dives through the air, catching it in mid-fall and roaring in triumph as lightning crackles around him. Both warriors push their limits, with Thor's brute strength meeting the Surfer's blinding speed. They clash high above the towers of Asgard, crashing past Odin's throne room as their battle echoes across all 9 realms. But then, something changes, and doubt begins creeping into the Silver Surfer's mind as he looks at Thor and sees no evil there, only confusion and pride, not the tyrant he thought he'd find. As the gods gather around them and the storm builds, Loki's illusion starts to crumble until Odin himself appears, his voice cutting through the chaos as he demands answers. And finally, the truth is laid bare. Loki is exposed, the lies are undone, and the Silver Surfer, ashamed of being used once again, lowers his head, stops the fight, apologizes to Thor with sincere regret, and turns away to leave. His silver form glides into the clouds, trailing through the storm as Thor watches him disappear and softly whispers, "He is noble, even in error." Even though sorrow hangs heavy over the moment, something has changed deep inside the Silver Surfer. This becomes a turning point in his journey, a moment where he stops being just the cold herald of Galactus and begins questioning not only what is true, but what is right. He fights not for destruction, but for belief. And when truth slaps him in the face, he accepts it, owns it, and walks away with dignity, carrying the lesson instead of the blame. It marks one of the greatest hero versus hero battles of the Silver Age, a story told with the cosmic majesty of Jack Kirby's art and the quiet heartbreak of Stan Lee's words, where even in defeat, the Silver Surfer gains something far greater. Through this moment, through the shame, through the insight, he begins to transform into one of Earth's mightiest defenders, ready to stand toe-to-toe with gods and monsters alike. Galactus, Thanos, Mephisto, Thor, Hulk, Doctor Doom, Beta Ray Bill, Adam Warlock, Loki, and even Null.